Hi, my name is Crystal McKernan, and I'm the Love Our Kids Director with Love Stanislaus County. Love Our Kids believes strongly in elevating the voices of former foster youth. What better way to learn than to hear from youth that have been in care? At our recent Every Child Matters event, we invited a panel of former foster youth to come speak to us about their experiences, what they wish we knew, misconceptions we have about foster care. We hope you find this video helpful. First of all, I want to just say thank you so much for coming this morning, the four of you. I'm really passionate about elevating the voices of youth that have gone through this process. Who better to share with us what you think could help, what you've found encouraging and not so encouraging. And so I'm just so grateful that you've taken the time out of your Saturday to come be with us. Why don't we get started by, if you could just each introduce yourself and maybe share how long you've been in care.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Mendez. I'm a former foster youth. I entered care at 15, aged out at 21. I am now 25, a mom and a wife. I currently work for the Youth Engagement Project, and I help embed the youth voice at the county and the state level. And then I also work for Center for Human Services in our low barrier shelter for our 18 to 24-year-old homeless youth here in the county.
Hi, I'm Ariel Rubio. I was in care till I entered at age 13 and then exited at age 22. I've been in 2 family placements and 2 resource home placements. I'm currently 25 and I work at Amazon.
Hi, my name is Karina Villanueva. I'm 18. I'm part of the AB12 program, and I've been in foster care since 9/11 in 2020. Yeah.
My name is Nathan. Hello? Okay. My name is Nathan. I'm 19 years old. I've been in foster care ever since I was 14 years old. And I just wanted to say, I came out from South San Francisco City just to be here today, and I want to honestly thank everyone for coming. This is something I'm very passionate about, and yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to dive right in with some of the questions that people submitted online and questions that we kind of talked about. Starting with, what is one misconception people have about foster care and foster youth? And Nathan, we'll go ahead and start with you.
So one misconception that I feel people have about foster care is, I could go days about this subject, honestly. Placement and, awareness about, the things that we go through every single day and, statistics. I did a little bit of research about foster suicide rates, and it's a lot higher than I thought. So in 2017, they did a study of every 100,000 people that die, 10.6 of them, statistical number, are foster youth that commit suicide. I looked up on average about how many people die every single day. It's around 178,000 people, which left me with the number of 18.8 foster youth that fall victim to suicide statistically every single day. And, my thing is not a lot of people know this stuff. Not a lot of people realize that, me being a foster youth male, I have over an 80% chance that I'm going to be in and out of jail for the rest of my life. I have over a 90% chance that I'm actually going to kill myself, commit suicide. And, there's so many things, there's so many issues, there's so many problems that people are not aware of, that they think that they are, but they're really truly not. Like with placement and everything, it's so bad. We are literally having to send our youth out of state, and we are using propaganda in other countries like Germany, Italy, France, and all these other places to literally reach out and get help for kids like us. And it's just that's the reason why I'm here, honestly, is, I want to spread that awareness, that misconception that, people feel that the state has it all under control. We are literally doing every possible thing we can to reach out for help. So,
Lauren, do you have anything to share on that one?
Yeah, so I'll just touch a little bit on our pregnant and parenting youth. And it wasn't until after I had my son, and I was out of foster care when I had my son, when I was 22, and even still then, I was considered a statistic because of my background. As being a foster youth, I was 60% more likely to be a parenting teenager from age 18 to 24. And I think about that now. I'm 25, married with 2 stepchildren and my own. And, you wouldn't think that, like, youth who are not in foster care, women who are not in foster care, they have children all the time, 19, get married, and it's no big deal. And that's normal, and that's okay. But for foster youth, you're a statistic. You're considered a statistic. And just breaking that down as now I've realized, like, that doesn't matter. And I'm a good mom. I'm a wonderful mom. And just that, people who grow up in foster care go on to become great parents. Some of the best parents and other moms that I have known have had just as hard of a life, should have been in foster care or were in foster care. And that's not to say that they're going to pass their trauma on to their young ones, because that's the number one thing that we make sure not to do, is pass those generational traumas to our own kids. And to just tag a little bit on what Nathan said with the mental health need, youth with mental health needs, like we have those. Trauma comes straight from those mental health needs, and that doesn't mean that youth is not fixable or that they're broken. They just need guidance and support while they're going through that transition. I went through that transition. I've been on 5150 holds, and now I'm like, how did I get from that to being in a hospital at the age of 15, 16, 17? Now I'm 25, and I work with the state, and I get to work with youth every day. So it's just all about those lifelong connections and that support from community members, even my own biological family, and just people that I've met along the way.
That's really good. Okay, next question. If you had a magic wand to create a supportive foster home, what would it look like? Or how do you know when someone really cares for you? Let's start with Karina.
A supportive foster home would include parents willing to understand and learn about my history and trauma. Supportive foster parents would be willing to learn how to interact and communicate with my siblings and I while considering the trauma we faced. Foster parents would understand that our trauma is the reason we act the way we do. I know when someone really cares for me when they don't give up on me. For example, if a problem arises between my foster parent and I, we talk and work through the issue. The best thing my foster parents do is reassure me that they won't kick me out and will continue to love and support me as their own. After I attempted suicide on Valentine's Day and failed, my foster mother was there for me when I woke up after being on the ventilator for 4 days. She was holding my hand and said, "I'm here." Pulling the 18-inch tube out of my throat was excruciating, but not as painful as it would have been had she not been there. She called me every day during my stay at a psychiatric facility and told me she loved me. I know my foster parents care for me deeply.
Thank you so much for sharing that. What about Nathan? Do you have anything to add on that? Sure, no problem. If you had a magic wand to create a supportive foster home, what would it look like? Or how do you know that someone really cares for you?
It's kind of going back to what you guys were talking about, like housing and stuff like that. When it comes to placement, it doesn't have to be the typical white picket fence family, with a really big house, that's gonna buy me, nice things or anything like that, because, at the end of the day, materialistic stuff, it means nothing. It really does. And, you could be living in a trailer park for all I honestly personally care, but, it's a matter of, it's a level of support and trust that you can provide to the kid that honestly really matters, being a foster parent is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing dealing with, kids that are growing up in, situations to where they should not be, going through, but kind of rambling on at this point, but I don't know, I'm getting
But
a little... yeah.
that's great. That's really important for people to hear, that, it isn't necessarily about, what your home looks like or that kind of thing, but it's about that not giving up.
Just love and support.
Yeah.
Just love and support.
And that
And,
consistency.
always reassure to the child, you're not going to give up on them,
Absolutely.
Like, don't treat them as one of your own. Push them to be the best person that they could be.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What are some challenges you faced going into a new placement, or what are some things that could have made that transition smoother? I mean, I assume that must be so hard to start in a new placement. So, Ariel, do you have any thoughts on that?
So with my first placement, I was 13. I'm the oldest sibling of like 5 or 6 kids now. There's more. But when I entered in care, I was the oldest sibling. So for me, it was just adjusting into my resource family's home, seeing where like me and my brothers fit in their lifestyle and their household. And then I took on like my mother's role. So I was placed with my 2 younger siblings. And so I had a hard time separating myself from that. My foster mom wanted to take on some of the responsibilities, and I didn't trust her enough to take those on because I was so used to raising my siblings. So I wanted to be in the same room. I wanted to be involved. It just took me a while to trust her enough to look after them. Another thing was, so since I was 13 and I didn't really know how to advocate for some things, I didn't really ask for hygiene products, and there was no open communication about it. So a lot of times I would use my allowance to go buy it, or I'd ask my family members to go buy it, and it just, there was no open communication, and I wish that happened in the beginning, and maybe we sat down and talked about my needs and maybe what they can provide, and then also what that looks like, me handing over some of the responsibilities of my brothers, because at that point I needed to go back to school, so just talking about that. And also I didn't know anything about the system when I entered. I wish that someone would have sat down and talked to me about that.
Some more communication, open communication. Karina, what about you? What are some challenges you faced in a new placement? Or something that could have made the transition smoother?
Some challenges I faced going into new placement included being rushed into bonding and not having enough time to build trust. Another challenge I faced was having to prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my siblings because my foster parents did not. Playing a role where I had to almost act as their parent when my foster parents didn't feel like doing so was extremely stressful. I don't believe added weight is what any foster child should have to carry. I also dealt with false accusations and presumptions, so that was definitely another challenge I faced going into new placement. My foster mother's biological child had made up lies about me that she believed and continued to believe even after I confirmed those lies were not true. The same foster parent had lied to our social worker about the severity of my mental health and eating habits. She reported that I would hardly eat and needed to drink Ensure, which is a nutritional drink. Lastly, I told the foster mother about my suicidal thoughts, and she did not tell anyone or do anything to support me.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, so it sounds like just having foster parents who are open to really learning who you are and building that trust, like you said, not expecting that from day one, that's important. How can an advocate or a trusted adult help with your mental health needs? Karina, you kind of spoke to, mental health, and we all know how important that is. Do any of you have thoughts on that? How they can help you support you in that particular way?
Just listen. A lot of us, we tell you what we need. I mean, or at least for me, I use my voice, when I have something that's bothering me, I'll say it. But it's a matter of fact on, if someone's going to act on it. There's been plenty of times where I've opened up and, told people, I need this, I need help, I need to get this done, or, I'm going through this and I need support. And thankfully, I'm blessed with a really good social worker now that is able to, take care of my needs. And, when I ask her for something that I truly need help with, she will do everything in her power to do it. But there's been other times and other cases where in group homes, foster homes, and, dealing with social workers myself, it's, it could be quite a challenge. It's just, just listen. We will tell you exactly what we need. We'll tell you what we are going through. It might take a minute. It might take a minute to open up and, be able to process all of it. But, just listen. Just listen to us.
Lauren, do you have anything to share about specifically the topic of mental health?
So I know Nathan touched on just listening. I think that's one key thing of just being that listening ear. And, I know we've talked a lot about, self-harming behaviors, and, that's, a really common behavior for youth in care. And I think, being able to sit there and listen, but also know how to assess for a safety need. Or if a youth is telling you, hey, I don't think I can keep myself safe. And if, you as a resource family or an advocate aren't able to help that youth right then and there, figuring out a plan and making sure that you're in communication with their social worker or their therapist, and having those communication lines open in case, those things do come up. And I just think services, advocating for that youth for services. I did not get the mental health services that I needed while I was in care, and I know Steve had talked about clinicians being changed like underwear, and that is definitely true. I was finally open to counseling after being placed and having placement changes so many times that I finally got to back here in my hometown, which is Modesto, Stanislaus County, and I wanted to start counseling services. And we started some really good work, and then she transitioned on to something else, and then the same thing happened with my second clinician and third clinician, and then by that time I was aged out of foster care completely, and I was on my own to figure out mental health services. And in Stanislaus County there are few to none for those after you turn 21, unless you're paying out of pocket, and that's expensive. So just, really advocating for that youth in your home, or advocating in general for the correct services for those children and youth that are in foster care.
Yeah. What do you want future foster parents to know? Lauren, we'll stick with you.
Okay. I guess I'll touch a little bit about boundaries and just, taking in teenagers and older youth. Sometimes they're just looking for a lifelong connection and a supportive adult, not necessarily a mom or dad. I remember my second foster mom, after getting out of a group home, introduced me as her daughter and wanted me to call her mom, and I was like, I still had visitations. Family unification was, gone at that point, but I still had my mom. I still had my siblings. I visited my grandparents on a regular basis every week. So having those family titles just really was uncomfortable for me, and those boundaries just were not there. And I think also another key point is just be honest with that child or youth that's in your home, because they'll know when you're bluffing. They'll know when you're not genuine. They'll sense that right off the bat. And so just making sure that you're coming into this 110%, and you're just being open and honest, because that's really all that we want. We don't want to be told things that are not going to happen. We've had those empty promises, those things that, were told to us, whether by our bio parents or other people that we've met while we've been in care. And yeah.
Ariel, do you have anything to add on that?
That was a question again.
I know,
sorry.
it goes by.
I was like, hold
It's
on.
like, what are we talking about? What do you want future foster parents to know?
I would just say there's so much. I just want you guys to know that you also have resources and you're important too. And in the system, there's resources for youth, but like the professional panel talked about, there's also resources for you guys. So you're not alone in this. It is really hard to navigate the system, but like they said, there's a whole village behind you. And then another thing I want to highlight on is fostering is kind of like matchmaking, and especially with older youth. You kind of want to like date around, meet them, talk to them, see what their needs are, what you can provide and what you can't provide. And that saves you a lot of this like moving around, the youth moving around, you know? And then just being honest about your rules and again, what you can provide and what you can't provide, just being upfront about it.
That's great. Honesty in relationship to that, that's great. Karina, can you describe for us a favorite memory you made with a foster family, your foster family?
All right, so I want to say it was probably like my 4th or 5th placement. I definitely was not, I wasn't a sheltered kid with my bio parents. We did do a lot of family-related activities, so that wasn't too unforeign to me. But my foster mom did get us all passes to Disneyland, and we went quite a few times in the short amount of time that I lived with her. But it was just like her grandkids, her daughters, like had season passes. Well, so did her kids that came into care, into her home. And so that kind of felt like I was part of their family and I wasn't being excluded. I wasn't sent to respite. I don't know how many times I have met with youth or have been introduced to youth who were on respite because their foster parents went on vacation and took their kids and didn't take them. Like, are you serious? Like, they live in your home too. And I think that's like a huge part of like, you know, you treat them as you would treat your own child. And because we will see that in the home, and that doesn't feel good, and that makes us uncomfortable, and then we don't want to be there. And so I think like just that like connection that we were able to build while and at the happiest place in the world. So, you know, like those kinds of memories, even though, I know I transitioned on and that home wasn't a fit for me, I still remember that. I remember that positive experience because just as much as I remember the negative, I'm going to remember the positive as well.
That's good. Nathan, can you speak to what is one life skill that you would not have learned, that you have not learned, that you would like foster parents to teach you? What are some specific skills?
Basic skills, learning how to drive a car, building up credit, you know, how to pay bills properly, you know, just basic life skills. You know, I'm 19 years old, still fighting to get my driving permit and, you know, my high school diploma and everything like that. There are times where I literally felt I would have to get on my hands and knees to literally beg for just basic life skills, because, you know, like, you don't just learn them on your own. You don't learn how to shower on your own. You don't learn how to, you know, you can't just drive a car out of nowhere. You know, you need to be taught things. And, you know, just anything, honestly. You know, if you feel that there's a kid in your home that would benefit off of learning something, even if it's just the slightest thing, knowledge is knowledge, information is information, and, you know, it's more power to them and more power to you helping out another child, you know, but you wouldn't ever really expect it, but it's more really the basic things, the more basic life skills.
That's great. Any of you have anything to add? Ariel, do you have any, or Karina?
What question
A life
is this?
skill? I know.
A life skill, okay.
Any life skills that?
Is it 5 or what number? Do you know the number?
Number 8, question number 8.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I listed a whole bunch of things out. Just because I'm 25 now and I'm still learning so many of these skills. So like money management, time management, communication skills. I know when I was younger, I was very quiet and I did not know how to advocate. I shut down when, I know you guys are talking about conflict resolution or things like that. I would shut down or I'd run away. So learning those communication skills, and then sometimes you'll get youth that maybe curse a lot or yell because they don't know how to communicate. So that's another thing to teach them. Like in the real world, you can't do that. So learning those skills. Again, the basic skills like coping and driving, job prep, healthy relationships, and building support systems. And that seems like a lot, right? For you to take in this kid and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to teach him all these things. Again, this is where the resources come into play. So I know the professional panel mentioned YEP, which is a resource that connects young adults with jobs and they get them ready for job readiness. They do interview prep, give them interview clothes. Sometimes they'll even do driving lessons. I did driving lessons through them. You have the ILP Center that teaches them independent living skills. So it's not just you teaching them all these things. There's a whole bunch of resources that you can use as well in the community. What else do we got? I know you guys have some resources that you can share too after the panel if you have any questions. But yeah, connecting them to those resources if you can't provide them or maybe you don't have the time to provide them because you guys have families and jobs of your own as well.
So maybe even really when a youth comes into your home, asking them, what are your, your goals in life? What do you want to learn? What kind of things? And then making sure that they get connected with people who can help them with that. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about teachers. Lauren, can you speak to, if I wish for one thing, I wish my teacher, what?
Would have kept my confidentiality. So that's number one. I remember I wasn't until my senior year that my teachers found out I was in foster care. And that was only because of placement changes and needing to switch my schedule and staying at my school of origin because that was important. And I literally refused to go to school if I was not going to my school of origin. So I took the city bus and that was fine with me. I made it to school on time. And but I just remember her saying something about my foster home in front of the whole class. And I was like, I didn't know how to answer that question because I was not prepared. And I really didn't have friends at school. I was a TA in a lot of my classes. So I hung out with the teachers and helped other students in our PAL classes and stuff. So people didn't really know a lot about me, but then found out I was in foster care and I was like, all right. And then they had tons of questions. And so that was just one thing I was maybe not blurting that out so easily. And then another thing was with placement changes, that's having to move before you go to school and then go to school and you just dumped all your stuff and then you go to school. And I remember I had a test and some other stuff in my classes and I just could not concentrate for the life of me. And I was like, I need to leave because I can't sit here and focus when literally all my stuff just got dumped at a new home and I haven't even met my new foster parents yet. And so it was kind of just understanding that when placement changes happen, sometimes we're just not present in school. And, and that should be okay. And, maybe we need some time and working with that youth to maybe make up their test or give them an extra couple of days on their assignments. And also to not go so easy to where, they're turning in assignments 2 weeks to a month late sometimes because I did want accountability for myself and I wanted to be able to learn that there are deadlines in life and I do need to meet them, but with some leniency because what I was going through was really, really tough.
So that balance between kind of grace for what's going on, but also with some of that accountability and teaching those boundaries, that's great. What about casa? I don't know, Ariel or Lauren, if you guys had a casa at any point. What's like the most important thing a casa could do for you, and how did that casa person affect your time in foster care?
Okay. So I had a couple casas in my time in care, and the first two just weren't a good fit. Luckily, the third casa I got was, and I still talk to her to this day. She actually works with my husband, which is like really a small world. But she was really real with me about a lot of things, especially as I entered adulthood. And so it was just really great to hear from her, and like just also getting to know about her as well, and like just building that connection, because sometimes like I didn't always want to talk about myself, and like I don't like talking about myself all the time. And so like just being able to have just like a whole dialogue conversation about myself, and then learning about her, and also just having that person to advocate for your needs, and also if maybe what you want isn't what's best for you, because I thought I knew everything, and I thought like, this is exactly what I want, this is exactly what I need, and like nobody can tell me differently. And I just remember like before court, she would literally go over what she was going to put in her court report. And so because she didn't want me to like blow up in court, because there were things that recommendations that she made that I didn't agree with. And so we kind of talked through those things, and she gave me her reasons why, and of course I was frustrated, but at the end of the day, now I'm safe and I'm healthy, like physically, mentally, emotionally. And if it wasn't for her advocating for me and making those recommendations, I don't know where I would be. And, I just now find that just super important, because like Steve said, there's like over 300 kids waiting for casas. And that's a huge number, to, have kids that need advocates, especially in court. My attorney was great, and I still talk to her to this day as well, but just having that extra support person, and that can, meet with you on a weekly basis, because she would check in with me weekly. If we needed to meet like in person, and I had the time because I was in high school, I had stuff I had to do, then we would meet in person and talk, and just go out to lunch and Starbucks. And so it was just nice to have that person that like was attached to my foster care experience, but also like kind of wasn't, because I like felt like I knew her like outside of foster care, because I got the chance to know her as well. So
That's great. Ariel, anything you want to add regarding casa?
Yeah. So I had one casa. With my casa, she had my educational rights. So she got me tutoring for math. She loved like arts and crafts and stuff. So she was like the first person to go take me to the store and like buy things to go paint. And like she would ask me what I was like passionate about, and we would hang out and grab lunch. And I really enjoyed spending time with her, because unlike my social worker, like I would tell her my needs, but I feel like I didn't really get to see the follow through, and with her I did. Like when I told her I needed help in math, she got me the tutoring, and she actually paid for it until she got reimbursed. So she just went the extra mile, and I knew that she cared. She'd make me like cute little handmade cards for my birthday and every holiday, and she would send them to me. So yeah, I just think it's really important to have someone from the outside looking in that does know that you're in foster care, but really wants to know about you as a person, because I think the system kind of buries your like your identity. You kind of start to get that identity like, I'm a foster child. Nobody really like, well, what are you passionate about, or what do you want to do in the future? And I think so like the CASA kind of like brought that out in me.
That's great. Okay, last question. What are a few ways our community could serve you better? I know that's kind of a broad thing, but all of us here, we've come here because, we want to hear from you about ways that we can, better support you. So does anybody have anything to share in regards to that?
Going back to when I started talking about, the statistics and, some issues that are going on in our foster system, just work on spreading that knowledge, work on spreading that awareness, and we can have so we can have more people like you guys more interested in coming up and actually making a difference in a child's life. And, it's really tough, and it really pains me. There are a lot of kids out here in this world that, they're really struggling right now. They think that they have no one, and they think that, the system is over here failing them. Like I said, I got into an independent living program out in San Francisco, living there for free in the Bay Area. What more could I be asking for? I mean, and it's just like, it's not more so much, I guess, what people can offer to us. We have enough programs. We have, we have everything that we really truly need. I mean, yes, we do need more foster parents and, more open homes, but, it's just, like I said, we just need people that are going to be willing to, take the time out and work with us, work with, these kids, because I came into the system at 14 years old, fresh out of juvenile hall. It was my first time ever being arrested, and I was very confused. I was very angry. I was angry with myself. I was angry at the world because I was just asking why constantly, and it's not the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing being in foster care, but we just need more people like you guys that are willing to sit down in these rooms, take their time out of their day to make a difference, to turn that, that statistical 18.8 kids every single day killing themselves to hopefully maybe one day 0. I mean, I know it's such a drastic change and everything, but, you got to start small. You got to start somewhere.
Thank you so much. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you guys so much for coming this morning. For more information about ways that you can get involved with Love Our Kids, head to lovestanislauscounty.org.